Camera's running around.
Just turn your camera, please, Fonzie.
Yeah, it's on.
It's not on, bro. We're live now. All right. So, International Men's Day. Welcome to all the gentlemen in the room. We're just going to be having a discussion about issues affecting men in the community. So, there's many issues that affect us, and a lot of them go unnoticed because we're men and the way that we're built. I think men have become undervalued in the community. What are some of the issues do you guys feel are affecting men primarily in the community? I'll leave that out to anyone to just jump in and begin a convo.
Primarily, the ones is crime and dispute on the street. You know, that's a prime one, and employment and finances. But I want to bring up something that we don't tend to talk about very often, if at all, is how men deal with miscarriage.
Yeah.
A lot of the emphasis is on women to deal with it, and you know, a lot of women have their groups and they talk about it amongst themselves. But I don't. Out of all the men I know, they've never discussed miscarriage with me or mentioned it, but their partners have.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it's probably because this thing that, you know, a lot of men, well, obviously, like the woman's carrying a child for like 8 or 9 months or however long, but the child is inside the woman, so the woman is most definitely going to feel it a lot more than anything else. And men, we don't tend to want to talk about and express our feelings, and especially if it wants to make us cry. You ain't going to cry in front of the next man, isn't it? So we just put on a bit of a front, or we kind of kill it with silence. Don't talk about it. But the one of the issues I want to talk about is that when it affects the woman, it affects the relationship. And from my experience, personal experience, and from the women that I've spoken to, because like they didn't know what was happening with me until I mentioned it, is that they tend to, number one, they blame themselves for either not eating well or doing something wrong to cause a miscarriage. Then they blame their partner for whatever reason, making them angry or being a bit rough with them while they're pregnant or whatever. And it just falls apart. But the men don't understand what is going on with the woman's mind. You know, they're going for a bit of a meltdown because of the miscarriage. But men sometimes think, well, let's just have another baby. Get over it, have another one. But it's not that simple with a woman. Right. And all this time they're tormenting themselves and they're tormenting their men as to what went wrong.
It's all about communication. That's what it boils down to. If you're not communicating with your partner, then there is always going to be a battle between each other. And you might be thinking one thing, they're thinking another, but rather than speaking about it, everyone's just second guessing. And it's a tough subject and something where people don't really like talking about it, but you've got to be the right kind of person for these people to open up to. And some people aren't that willing to let people open up to them. Like they're not welcoming, or and males as well ourselves. Like we don't like let them explain things to us. It's always an argument or something else rather than listening and understanding from both point of views. And I think it's just all about communication, because I've been through it myself. But in my first stage, I was like, oh yeah, you better get rid of this baby, blah blah blah, because the situation didn't suit me. But that didn't work, because they're still going to keep it or they're going to get rid of it themselves. It's not my decision to make them whether I either want to keep it or get rid of it. It's up to them and their choice whether to do it. But then as I grew up, I was like having a discussion with the person. We discussed about what's happened, where we went wrong, where the situation went wrong, but through communication, that's it.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about both of them, you're talking about abortion and now it's talking about miscarriage, and you talk about the communication. We're looking at then men expressing themselves.
Yeah.
And to be clear, do you realize how hard it was even this evening to get a group of men together that was willing to address issues that affect men in our community? And these are the sort of reasons behind why we're falling behind as men in our community, and women are taking more of a prominent lead, yeah. And then we are then in a position where we're complaining that women are taking more of a lead because we're unable to communicate our emotions properly. And there's a root cause behind it all. And I think tonight is a very good night to kind of spend the time and kind of dissect some of the reasons behind why we can't express. And even going back to the miscarriage, it's a very interesting topic, because it's like, even with postnatal depression and stuff like that that females face, it's seen to feel that once a baby is attached or growing inside of the woman, that the man then has no connection or emotion. I saw a meme posted the other day that showed a pregnant woman and her carrying the baby inside, and the man stood behind with the baby in his mind. Do you understand? So although we aren't physically bearing those children, and our disconnect maybe from the birth of children is possibly why fathering has been so lapse over the years. Yeah, and why we don't have sometimes that natural connection with the child to be fathers as we should. I don't know, Naya, do you want to elaborate any more on?
I mean, like, I was a single father for 14 years, so I was always obviously going to a lot of parents groups, a lot of nurseries, a lot of play groups, and it's all women. So I was like literally the only man there. So
Yeah.
my network is mostly women. Women I've known for years and years and years.
Yes.
But when I went through this with my ex-partner, I expressed this concern, this issue with my long-term friends. And one by one, they start saying, well, yeah, I've had 2 miscarriages. I've had 3 miscarriages. I've had 4. Oh, I had a miscarriage. I'm like, I never even knew this about my close friends, my close female friends, because that is something I never discussed with men.
Yeah.
So when I discussed it with those women, what they went through, they literally said the same thing. They blame themselves, and then they blame their partner, and literally force their partner away.
Right.
And they all said at the time the partners were very supportive. They were there for them and did everything. They were good partners, but because of what they were going through in their mind, they weren't thinking straight. They're emotional, going through a bit of depression. They all blamed their partner and literally forced them away. And men, me myself, I was being forced away. And I didn't understand what's going on. Have you got another man? Or have I done something wrong?
Yeah.
But it's none of that. It's the emotional backlash of the miscarriage and the emotional trauma that the woman was going through. But as a man, I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
the
when
sad
other
thing is,
women explained the same thing, that they themselves forced away a good man based on what was going through their mind,
yeah.
it's something that's never discussed.
And the sad thing is that as a man, you didn't have no other male to go to for support.
Absolutely none. They
And
wouldn't understand.
the friends that
I've
you
got
had
some
that
family
experience.
from women who don't normally discuss it with men. But they discussed it with me because I know what I was going through as a single parent.
Right.
So there's probably something that women discuss amongst themselves, but not necessarily with men.
Right. So what do you feel needs to happen in terms of the miscarriage and the things that men are facing in terms of that? From your perspective, from your experience, what would you have liked more of, or what would you have liked to experience?
I would like to have known what to expect. Because now, when I speak to women and I speak to men who have got babies coming, I say to them, listen, be careful of miscarriage. Be careful of what's possibly going to happen in your relationship if a miscarriage happens. Or if I speak to a brother and say, look, you know, they've just lost a baby, I'll explain to him, listen, things are going to happen in your relationship that's beyond your partner's control. And you have to understand it's going to be coming. It don't come brilliant, but expect it. So
Yeah,
if we have an idea of what to expect, it helps us deal with things.
true. I wonder
When
what.
you're going completely blind and think, oh, what the hell's going on? Because you haven't
Yeah,
been warned.
You know what I think that's due to? Because a lot of the films that we watch here, we get influenced by, innit? So when we watch them, yeah, we think, oh yeah, when people
Right,
have
bro, got to
babies,
speak up.
the first thing we think here when we watch films and we get influenced by, we think, yeah, this is when we have a baby, this is the emotion we're supposed to have. This is the feelings we're supposed to have. But
right.
part of that is like when it comes to that part where it's like, okay, I've had a miscarriage, it's like almost like your brain doesn't know how to process that because you've not ever had that experience, and then because it's never spoken about, the other person, you're thinking, I'm not even going to tell that other person because he hasn't even experienced it, so I'm going to keep it. It's almost like a secret, man keep that to themselves. So even like speaking about it now, it's like, bro, like that's one conversation I've never had with a man. Like I've
True.
never had this conversation.
True.
So for you to bring that up now, it's like, bro, for women to have that conversation, a man not to have that conversation, where is that bridge where man are supposed to have said, Joe, if you're my brother and you've gone through that, how are you feeling about that car? That's a madness.
Yeah.
No matter what the girl's going through as well, that's a madness as well. But for you to go through it as well, how are you feeling about it? Because I think it all depends on what age that situation has come up in your life. Because if you had it at a young age, you might have gone through that a few times now and not even realize, yo, I'm depressed about that situation. I'm kind of fucked about kids. And so it might, even when you do have your child, it's like, yo, I don't know how to act because I've had 3 goes at this and I've had 3 miscarriages, and now you're the first life that I've actually created. So that conversation's always, it's almost like a miss between man, because it's almost like a dark secret between man, isn't it? Because like man will talk about, yo, how many gal they've slayed and rare tear, but they're not going to tell you how many miscarriages.
True, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're not going to tell you, like, you know, I've had 20 girls miscarriage my youth. I talk about it proudly, because then you look on them and think, raw, you're active, but you've had 20 miscarriages, fam. Like, how do you feel about
and
that?
they talk about it like it's
that
nothing.
conversation ever been brought up between man, or a man's ever had to sit down? I think with that, a lot of men just deal with their emotions and say, you know what? It must be a me thing. I can't understand what my girl's going through. Have I done something? Or was my semen not strong enough? It's like man don't know the full biology of how to deal with that experience. So it kind of bypasses when man say, you know what? I'm going to hold that one down. Like that.
It is very.
And then I think it deepens it, man. Cause like that's stemmed like with you just opening with that. I'm like, raw. That's one thing. That's one conversation. Man, I've never had a conversation. I've been on this earth for 7 years. I've never had a conversation about that.
It's true, yeah.
Never. So it surprisingly now, because my son's at an age where he's probably got a girlfriend and them things there. I'm not trying to be a granddad or anything, you know what I mean? So for me to explain something like that to him, I'm saying, yo, have any of your friends been through that situation? Because having a baby at 14 in our school, in my era, was like, what, you having a baby at 14? And like it's common now. 15, 16, it's common now. It's man common. I see kids having kids. Even when I was thinking about having kids, I was like, yo, I don't want kids until I was 30. And I had them in my 20s, and God bless that I had them in the 20s, because I didn't want to be like, in hindsight, an old dad. You know what I mean? I look at my dad now and I think, yo, like you've got, your oldest is however old, but you're old, but you look very good for your age. No one would think that you've got how many kids. You know what I mean? And I kind of wanted that in my own sense. Like, you know what? I want to do things with my kids so they can experience my youth and my experience at the age that I am, before it gets to that point where I can't do them things with them. But then by that time, I can say, yeah, you know, I've gave you as much tools as a dad that I can give you to go out there and explore this for your life, for yourself and that. But the abortion, the miscarriage thing, that's just like the weirdest conversation. Like, I've never had that with a man.
True.
Even when
So how do you think?
Me, oh, yeah, oh, she's lost the baby. And you never ask them, like, well, how does she do that? That's not like losing your phone or your keys. So a man can explain that to you and explain that, yo, I think I lost the ear, but that conversation there is something. Yo, I've never had that conversation with a man.
It's true.
Never
True.
sat down. I've had man said that they've lost their kid and that, and then it's almost like a conversation where you brush it over with something because yeah, okay, I've got one. I've got a secret as well. So, and for me to share my feelings, it might feel awkward, but then it's like, I don't know. I think it's something man hold down to the chest, really, to tell the truth.
Yeah. So
sorry, Chris, go.
Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah. I kind of agree with what you saying. A lot of it can hinge on like what your level of emotion and intelligence is at that time. So, which can be related to your maturity or your upbringing or your background. There's a lot of variables, really. But you know, I think as younger guys, a lot of men, like especially black men, get used to suppressing certain feelings and just burying them. And then, and then even if those feelings are like coming out, they might be coming out. You might be in a different way. You might be acting out. You might be doing something out of character, or you know, I mean, touching drugs, or you know, whatever. But where you might not even realize at the time that that's the reason why you're doing it. But something's happened in your life where that's how you're dealing with it. But you haven't made the connection necessarily. That's one of the problems, and I think, you know, related to that as well is support networks. Like, you know, whether you got someone to talk to or not, it's not how many people you got to talk to, it's the quality of how, you know, how deep can you go with that person? Is there a trust and a bond where you can talk about your deepest, darkest? And, you know, again, a lot of us don't have that, especially growing up. Probably, you know, as we get older, we find we get magnetized towards them types of similar people, where we can start to have these conversations. But coming up, we don't have that generally, unless you're very, very lucky.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think that's due to when you're growing up, you don't actually, I think it's up until when you're about 14, 15, you don't actually start realizing this thing's not a movie.
It's true.
Do you know, like when, like, I don't know if it's when you start realizing, like, your first, like, either your grandma dies or a great, and you start realizing, raw, this thing's not a movie.
Real life.
It's real life. And then you see other people progressing, and you sometimes like think, am I progressing the same way as these people are progressing? And then you realize 5 years ago, and now like you're in the big wide world, and it's like, no, I've left school now. What am I supposed to do now? No one explained that. I'm gonna have to pay bills. I'm gonna have to pay the guy called the tax man. No one and then you start realizing when you're of age, and you think, raw, like, I wasted all that time in school learning this, that, and the third to come out of here. To pay this guy called the tax man. To work
that's actually, but that's a good point though. That's a really valuable point, because I would say even myself in them times I was lost. I didn't know. and that I carried that into adult life, as a lot of people do. Do you get what I mean? And I would say
I got electricity bill, like, who do I pay this to? Where does this need to pay? I rang my mom and said, yo, mom, I've had this bill come through, it needs paying. She said to me, don't you know how to pay? I says, no. She says, you have to take your money. And I had to learn that process on my own because of the way I left my mum's house. It was like I grew out of listening to rules. I thought I was a man. So then I thought I had equipped myself with my mum equipped me, I could clean, cook, everything, present myself, you know what I mean? Read, write, everything. So my next stage was to be, everything. So my next stage was to own my own place so I can get up for whatever time. And that was my next thing. That was
freedom!
My next thing from the bedroom. From the bedroom, yeah. So once I left the bedroom and I got my own toilet, I'm living now. So when the bill came in and I realized, raw.
When the bill came in,
Then the envelope come.
There weren't no film like this in school. What was I doing art for? You know what I mean? So, and then, like, even like with my film now, yeah, I say to him, yo, whatever you chose in school, there's a reason you chose it. Yeah, I might enjoy it or whatever. I said, but you need to come out with your maths, your English, or whatever you actually pick. I said, because anything else, you're not gonna use it. You're not gonna use it.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant, but you need to be able to read, write, and you need to know how to articulate yourself.
And add up where the money's missing.
And your maths, you need them, like them 3, 4, 5 things there, you need them. Other than that, the rest of it you won't use. I said, because I took this in school, I said, I don't use it. I don't use it. So the level of thinking that what we have to teach the youngers now with the whole situations that are coming at this, like the situations that these lot are going through now, it ain't nothing what we went through. We went through a madness. We went through an era where we was growing up off what we were seeing and thought. I thought D Block and them, man, were really out in the streets every day doing this thing. Up until I was about 18 and I realized, yo, these men are rapping. They're not really shooting and killing every day. Like, what? Come on, D. So get 18 to realize this. Up until I was 15, man, we're wrestling. WWF in it.
WWF.
I've got a brethren now up until we was like 14, 15, we were wrestling. Wrestling. Whoop. And then I was like, yo, I passed it on to my son and I went to jail, and when I came out of jail, my son was like, yeah, he loves wrestling. I was like, yo, look, that shit's fake. He was like, what? No, Dad. I was like, yo, that shit's fake. My dad would have told me that was shit's fake. I wouldn't have wasted all them years watching man punch man thinking that it. And because I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna make him think until he's 15 that this thing's real.
Yeah.
Because when he get
fairy tale,
he's gonna need to be able to react, or do you know what I mean? I don't expect him to go and think, yeah, this is no. It might hurt. You might get your teeth knocked out, so you need to. So that's fake. I took him to watch the thing, and we watched it, and I said to him, look, I'm not punching him. You think my man could punch me 10 times in my face and me stand up? Get it into your head, like some things are here to influence you. And you've got to realize, yo, I'm living this life. I might be watching this. If it's real, this is what happened. If it's not real, because God can give you these eyes just to be like, oh, this is just a show. It's not show, it's real life.
So what you're saying is,
you wake up and you realize, yo, this is what's going on. You've been lost for time. Even with what's going on with now, certain men are just getting onto it.
Yeah,
and it's like, raw. I've been locked down in my house for tear, and I've been wearing this mask and I've been doing this. Well, yeah, of course you've been. You've been abiding by the rules as you've known from when we were young. It's not until man have researched this say, hold on, this thing ain't real. This thing ain't proper. Like, this ain't add up.
So what I'm hearing you say,
supposed to be rum.
What I pick up.
McDonald's for a week. They got bigger queues than queue and the NHS. Don't make no sense. It don't make no sense.
What I'm picking up from what you're saying is that basically, as men, we've kind of grown emotionally unintelligent, as Chris was saying, or we've been grown with such immature emotion that we've took this into our adult years, yeah? 100%. And then we're figuring out life in our adult years, and our emotions have been disconnected, so we're still children emotionally in our adult years, yeah?
Definitely.
And that's what's impacted maybe our fathers and how they've not been able to guide us emotionally, or even give us any sort of emotion themselves, because they were still children emotionally in adult bodies. So
Everybody's
in
learning.
expressing,
Everybody's
in
different book.
teaching our children how to express themselves emotionally as men, yeah, it's going to be a key factor, especially when we're talking about subjects like what Naya's raised about miscarriage. Miscarriage is something that I never really had on the agenda to speak to my son about. You see what I mean? Emotionally.
But then,
But now,
it almost feels like, with you saying miscarriage, it's like, sorry to cut you up, it's like, yo, that's a touchy subject. Certain man don't even want to like raise their eyebrows up, and do you know what I mean? But it's a thing where like,
like it's not a thing. Like it's not a thing for. Yeah.
It's not a thing.
I hear it. I hear that. So, gentlemen, any other issues affecting men in the community, do you feel, today? Crime, yeah?
Yeah. Like all this like county line business and all these kind of things where man are just indoctrinating the young youths and people's cousins, their own family members, and making them go down the wrong path. And while they collect all the money and they sit in their little nice cars, houses, in their little nice houses, making phone calls from afar while their family is sat in houses with crackheads, doing bad things, and while they're living up and until they get caught, no one's got nothing to say. And all these 15-year-old youths, 14-year-old youths who haven't got no one to look after them and give them any knowledge. And these people that are looking up to them are selling them out of town to go and sell drugs. And it's the man them in the end what are promoting this, what needs to change and make these youths. Is that if someone taught me how to be business minded, I wouldn't have wanted to go sell drugs. I wouldn't have wanted to go do robberies or anything, because that money was easy to me. I'd go out and make 255 for driving, and that was easy to me. But rather than that, it's the risk that you're taking, because if you get caught, you're going to prison, aren't you? But you're not thinking about, you're thinking about the short term rather than the long term, and making a business with your brethren, like where you want to go sell drugs with your mates, but not make a business with your brethren or your family members. Like all them things need to change.
It's true. The grooming of young boys in the community is a serious topic, and I think a lot of men know of men that are grooming youths in the community, and it's a joke.
I just call it modern day slavery. The abuse of vulnerable children, and some children don't even get a choice.
Would you
Some
put it?
children choose it, they want the money and the fame. Some children don't get a choice because they get grabbed off the street, they get bribed, they get forced into, they get tortured. Some children don't have a choice. And literally, every single day without fail, I get a picture or a message of a child gone missing. Oh, my Johnny's gone missing, Kwame's gone missing, please look for him. And always within 2 to 3 days, they're back. I'm not a word of where they've been or how they're being found. And my immediate thought is county lines.
Yeah.
It's my first thought every time. Every single day. Today I had 2 this morning, children going missing. My first thought is county lines.
Would you put
it tell you?
It's also about families as well, isn't it? At the end of the day, because you need to communicate with your kids, because you can speak it's not the it's partially the family's fault, but it's not also as well, because people are busy. You've got lives, they've got their lives to run as well, and they expect their kids to be doing the right thing, but none of them are. They're making them believe that they're doing the right thing, and then going behind the back and doing pure badness. So you have to gauge what your kid's doing before it gets too late and they're gone, because they will go to the street real easily. Like that's why most of them are where they are now. Like you don't see none of this on the telly now, but all you see is Corona and all this. But in the news, there's so much crime going on. There's so much shootings going on in Birmingham, Manchester,
Of
all
course.
over
They're not,
the UK,
yeah.
crime is rife right now, and no one's talking about that.
Mm.
That is the real
No.
pandemic that's going on now. Man
That's
running up in
what's going
shops
on.
with guns, shooting people, drive-bys, robberies. Like, there's so much crime going on, but everyone wants to talk about wearing a mask and corona. Like, no, the real.
Wearing a mask for man now is like
Thank you.
It's
giving
not
them
normal.
ammo. I've been telling man for months. I'm saying, yo, listen, how comes I ain't heard about no man doing no big boy moves?
And you
Right
can
then,
And I'm
oh,
like,
don't
what do you
even
mean? I'm
try
saying,
to
yo,
go.
listen, like, man are wearing mask. They're telling you to wear mask going shopping. Why man are not writing?
Yo,
Like,
I go to the bank with a mask on. I don't even feel normal. Me going to the bank to do normal stuff with a mask on, I feel weird. Like,
weird.
this ain't normal. And they're talking to you normally. Like, everything's just normal.
You couldn't
Listen.
even wear a hoodie before, especially even young people were criminalized, heavily for wearing hoodies and stuff. And now, as you said, you can wear a mask in a bank anywhere on the streets. It's no problem. And
It's not. They're trying to make it normal.
in one aspect, the crime has jumped up. It makes you think if it's something that they're trying to encourage in some sort of a way. I think a lot of crime we've always seen over the years due to social deprivation as well. So, there's always, I guess, a reason to why people are out on the streets acting how they're acting. It ain't just, I guess you can say one aspect, sometimes the parents fall short as well, because if they think they're just going to send their kids to school and think it's the state's job to just teach your kids how to be a good human being and that's it, and, disregarding the other influences around them, disregarding the responsibilities that they need to take to ensure that their kids are on the right track and that they're putting the right teachings into them. And some parents ain't got that to even give. So, a lot of our community and people be falling short, not just here in the States, all around, what I mean? And it's I guess, there's different reasons to it. And to me, that's what leads to like mental health, even what we was talking about earlier and stuff, miscommunication, not being able to communicate yourself, youths on the road, growing up in their house a certain way, seeing their parents struggle or whatever, like, can't communicate to certain people. They hit the road and do what they need to do. You know what I mean? That's how it's always kind of been. But I'm not advocating it. But
But we've got a responsibility. Yeah, we've got a responsibility as men in the community, especially those that have lived or have gone down certain paths and know how the thing's set. Yeah. So what is our responsibility? If young males in our community we can see are being groomed, yeah, and we actively know the men that are grooming them, yeah, and we actively know, yeah, we're actively giving, or certain men actively give props also, yeah, street cred and props and all that, yeah, to these men in the community that are doing these sort of behaviors, yeah. But as men in the community now, what is our responsibility to that? Because a lot of those children are coming, yeah, from fatherless homes. We've got one father on screen now who was a single father, but 90% of those children, yeah, are coming from single parent homes. Yeah.
And those children,
we're talking about grooming now. Yeah. So what is our responsibility as men?
So you see, like, just to touch off, even when you said the single parent sort of households, I guess, we've got a responsibility definitely to step up where we can in other places, like even with the work that you be doing, working with people from different households and stuff as well, providing that additional support for those that, you might think don't have it or could do with just an extra ear to speak to or something like that. So I think it's just putting our feet forward and creating opportunities and platforms where, young people can, have safe people to talk to that they know understand what they're going through or what they could possibly face and stuff like that. And,
Well, I mean, we're talking about grooming of young black males, yeah, and we're talking about that gang affiliation, we're talking about the drugs, the knife crime, and the increase of all of that, yeah. We have a responsibility, yeah, and we have a responsibility to those children that are coming from those backgrounds and our own, yeah. So it's like we have to get to a place, I believe, yeah, where we become zero tolerant of that in our community. If you want to sell, if you want to do your thing and sell your drugs or do what you're doing, that's cool. Leave kids out of it.
I think one of the biggest problems that we've got in the community is the fact that we glamorize that life, and we kind of tie into the notion that it's part of our culture.
Right.
You hear it a lot on the TV. They're talking about our culture, the culture. But they're talking about street culture. They're not talking about black culture.
Yeah.
You see, that's one of the biggest issues that we're facing, is that we as the elders, we need to move the youngsters away from that notion that it's our culture, and that's what we belong to as black males.
And
you
that's
know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do we make that happen, though? How do we start to
Link that back to our history. So you would say that
this is
bringing in the culture conversation then says to me that our responsibility then is about teaching our history, knowing our history well enough, yeah, that we're able to then.
I think it is, yeah, but like how I'm seeing it now, yeah, like a lot of the history that I learned, yeah, I didn't learn it until my late 20s, 30s.
Yep.
So through my teens, you couldn't tell me about Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X.
We're interested.
Yo, listen, I watched the film, innit?
Yeah.
You see it? So it's not until now when I've picked it up and I've researched things and I've looked into things, I'm like, raw, yo, you was flipping as a youth. Like,
yeah.
And then until you get older in life and then you meet with other people that's not either walked in the same path or researched the same type of things that you've researched, you're like, raw, you know what? I was walking blind for a long, long time.
True.
And now I've opened up my eyes. So once you've opened up your eyes, when you start speaking to other people that are blind, it's kind of when they're looking at you like, still looking at you like, no, this guy's a twat. He's blind. They don't understand what I'm saying because he's woke, and what he's talking about is way over what my thinking can actually take on board. So I'm gonna till somebody else comes with that same type of conversation, I'm gonna put him down in that unsure box. Do you know what I mean? So when it's an unsure conversation or uncomfortable conversation, because like even like when Black Lives Matter was going on, I was ringing bare with a man them and saying, yo, have you had that uncomfortable conversation with your white friend? And it's like, what do you mean? I said, like with your white friend, that uncomfortable conversation, because I'd be having it. And I was like, what do you mean? I said, I'm a ringing man and asking them like, yo, how do you think I felt when certain things were going on in school and da-da-da-da? And they're like, bro, I didn't even know you felt like that, D. Really? Why would you not feel like I'm like, you not feel the pressures that certain times that and it's like, certain man don't want to have that conversation. So once a man doesn't want to have that conversation with you, I think as black people, some people might, I think we think, yeah, you know what? Not entertaining my man, he's a bit crazy. So once we label each other like that, it's almost like you get put in the village on top of the hill. So you're part of that little gang there. Like them crazy. Yeah, them man, you know what I mean? Is it that category? And when I see a man like that, I'm like, yo, you know what? He's got a free mind. He don't care if fucking his socks are odd today. As long as they're clean, he's cool. He doesn't care how his hair is profiled. He doesn't care what the next man thinks, what he thinks. He knows himself. He's cool. Once I see a man like that, I realize, yo, there's no point fucking with his aura because he's on his path. He knows that his thing's set for him and how he's patterned and how he's progressing. So I never knock a man. But when I see a man and he's acting like he's how I was in my teens, I'm like, yo, this guy's a Peter Pan.
Exactly.
This guy hasn't grown up.
Because we know by design that the system set this thing up. Yeah. The knowledge and the information brings you to that it's all by design. School, exclusion, prison. You see what I mean? Yeah. So it's like knowing what we know, yeah, it's either man are moving out of fear, yeah, and a shock, or they don't want to be seen, yeah, in a certain light, yeah, by a particular man because they still want to fit into, yeah, They still want to fit into that flipping narrative of, oh, yeah, man, know about road. They want to fit into that crap. Yeah, you understand what I'm trying to say to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, they still want to buy into that. Yeah,
Just living up to the
as well
stereotype.
as try and present to people that they've changed, but in reality, they're still up to the same fuckery.
Just in the shadow.
And when it comes, it's like, look, yeah, I'll never knock a man or criticize a man for what he does for his own life. That's his choice, yeah. But when you're then going to then go and influence vulnerable children, we've just had that discussion just a minute ago about being grown without that emotional guidance or intelligence, that lack of love and nurture that wasn't probably there from our fathers, yeah. So then to see another man step in and violate a youth, we got to feel some type of way about that as men in our community. We've got to. We cannot keep, that cycle going. And we've got to, this is why, even when I talk about the Kings and it's the knowledge, inspire, nurture guide, we got to collectively, it's minds. We're not on the wicked man BS that they want to behave with. So if we're showing a man a certain line and he doesn't choose, like the way of saying, that conversation just seems like it's flying over someone's head, the youth that is being impacted by that, it's vital that that message goes across. Parents, and like I'm saying, as men, we got to be actively pumping that in the community and not feel no way about it. No way about it. It don't matter who it is. It could be your cousin, it could be whoever it is that's closest to you. You know that a youth's being violated. Yo, I'm not in it. That's it. Zero tolerance. If it means I have to cut you, I've known you for all my life, I have to cut you off. It's that. Do you understand what I mean? Because we're now seeing another life, that's potentially going to be taken innocently, for the lack of what? You see where I'm coming from?
Just a lack of care.
The lack of care. So there's no point our community going around the subject and, youths are there stabbing, youths are there doing all of this, But really, you see why we're lacking as men, because the women are taking that forefront.
And I think the problem in our community,
it's the women that are there crying. It's the women that are there at the side of their child crying. We saw it the other day in town. Where was the daddy? It was the mum wailing. And this is what we're getting all the time. And like it even stems back to what Nai was saying in the beginning, that emotional disconnect from the child is even conceived.
I think when men don't step up, there's no consequences.
That's
when we don't do what we're supposed to do in our community, there's no consequences.
That's it.
And the cycle will repeat over and over again.
But it don't have to. That's what I'm saying. Even us six in this room, and those that are watching now, for me, this little part of the broadcast here, is so powerful, that message goes across, that wakes up other men. Do you see where I'm coming from? And it makes them understand, you know what? I know the youth that's living 2 doors down from me, and he seems to be hanging around with, these people that I know are doing X, Y, and Z. I can't be big fisting you no more. Something's got to change. Do you see where I'm coming from? And we have to get that serious about what it is that we're saying. Okay, as a big man, do what you're doing for yourself, but don't, once you start to draw picnics into it, you're just as bad as the paedophile that you're wanting to be upset with.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's like that kind of behavior there from a man is like a nonce.
Basically.
But we don't say nothing about it. Like if somebody was to sexually assault a child, we'll say something about it. But that behavior there is the exact same. There's no difference. You know what I mean?
Manipulating him to go and make money for you, for his purposes. Of course it is.
Right. So
it's like what?
Go on, finish.
What is it we're to do? So say for example, you live on a certain area, you know somebody, shots food, he's involved with guns, etc., etc. He's got some youngsters that you know as well, under the age of 16, say, working for him. What are we to do in that situation?
Parents.
Approach their parents.
Straight up.
Because sometimes the parents don't even know. They've got the same child under their roof.
What we
They've got
need.
a clue what their child's doing on road. They ain't got a clue. But sometimes they live in denial.
A lot of parents, though, like they've not got the time for their kids because they're working or they're studying. So you bring that to the parents will address the situation, but they've still not got a carer to look after the child. You know what I mean? And to keep them away from
doing your power, innit? Do you see what I'm trying to say to you?
But this is what I'm saying. Like,
you have to have that on your conscience, yeah. And then when that you ends up where you've warned that parent already, yeah, you ain't got no time to hear that parent wailing. Do you see what I'm trying to say to you? That wailing has to. You're done with that. I'm not even, because what we have to do is move past, yeah, as a community. I think we have to move past allowing, yeah, our parenting to be so horrendous, yeah, and our fathers in the community to be so neglectful of their own seed.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
A lot of the time, the parents are aware. The parents know what the youngers are doing. The youngers are bringing money home and putting food on the table and buying TVs and stuff. Some of the parents know exactly what they're doing.
Exactly, and just pretending that they don't.
Or they can't do nothing about it. You know what I mean? So in them situations, what are we to do?
Like I said, you on the parent.
Yeah,
to me, that goes straight to the parent's door, yeah, and you leave that on them, because you're not carrying it no more. You've seen it.
Yeah.
And when that because remember, it's not your seed, and you've still got your responsibility to your own. Yeah.
The village mentality comes in. The village that we talk about, it takes a village to raise a child. It ain't happening right now.
Right.
It's not happening.
That's where we need to practice that village mentality with yourself. Regardless of what anybody else is doing, don't wait on anybody else.
Right.
You practice that village mentality.
Yeah.
True.
And like each one teach one, innit? Like even if you make the youth know, innit? Like what you're through our past experiences, you have to show these people experience. You have to show these kids what you've been through and why you're trying to go this path. That's what and that's what they need. More people who have gone through the crap to who are coming through the other side to explain. Because after the people who explain it to these kids, they haven't even been through nothing. They haven't even been on nothing else, but what they have done is gone to college and they're good at learning and they're good at doing this, they're good at passing exams, but
middle
they haven't
class
got no life
people with no experience.
Or they haven't done this or that. So these kids aren't listening to them. So we need more people who have done stuff to talk to these kids and make them realize their life is not the life. The streets don't love you. That's what they need to know.
And you know when you're growing up, remember when you was young and you weren't listening to what your parents were saying, but some next elder will come to you and tell you the same thing, and suddenly you listen.
Yeah.
You remember that? You remember them days, isn't it? I call that OPS. Other parent syndrome.
Delivery different, innit? The delivery was different, I would say, and I think we all have a different delivery.
Parents need some backup.
You see what I mean? So sometimes when you're saying about the village mentality, when it's your own child doing it, it's like sometimes as fathers, because I was going to touch on this as well, because it's anti-bullying week and all of that, yeah. As fathers, I'll approach the subject from the angle that the aggression that fathers are projecting for those that are there for their children onto their children is actually bullying, yeah, and is aggressive, and then it can also spiral out to that aggression and frustration being domestic violence in the home. Yeah. So, yeah. Go on, Naya, what was you going to say? You look like you had something to say.
Expand on that one again.
Okay. So, the aggression, yeah, that men are displaying towards their children, it's easier sometimes for parents to address other people's children in a more loving manner than it is for them to address their own.
I'll get you.
Yeah.
My children used to accuse me of doing that all the time.
That village mindset brings about that sort of coming together where you understand that it takes more than my voice to be speaking to my child. I need all to come along and see my child on the road. Do you see what I mean? And say, this is the right thing to do, or you're doing that, well done. Do you understand what I mean? It's going to take more than my voice. And that's where that village mindset comes from.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And
wherever I go, I talk to youths all over the place. I can go north, south, east, and west London, and you get youths on the street calling me uncle. So I just text them and say, yo, young man, pull up your trousers. What are you doing in school today? Yeah, man, make sure you listen and learn, do something good. Everywhere, because when I pick up my daughter now, I'm walking down the road and I'm getting all these people say, yeah, uncle, are you good? She's like, how you know all these people? I could do all this while chatting to you. We can't walk 5 minutes and someone else say yell to you. I just talk to people.
Yeah.
If I go to the tube station, I'm seeing like a youth fumbling with change to try and buy a travel card. I'm like, yeah, hold that tenner. I'll give him a tenner. Put that on your travel card. And I stand there and make sure he puts it on his travel card, innit? Not spend it elsewhere. But that's what I do. Yeah. My daughter said, everywhere you go, someone's always chatting to you. And So, because when I moved to Westminster, I moved there like 25 years ago. When I first moved there, I see some young boy, he's like 7 or 8 years old. He's walking around with his trousers hanging down. I said, listen, young man, have a bit of respect for yourself. Just put up your trousers and walk tall. And he goes, yeah. 20 years later now, some guy, big man, was like, yo, uncle. I'm telling him, I'm like, who are you? Because they remember me. Like, all them years ago, you told me to put up my trousers, and I listened to you. Now I'm running my own business from out of Spain because of what you were saying to me when I was younger. All it takes is a little word from a random stranger can make a big difference to anybody. But you have to care enough to say something.
Yeah, and expanding on what I was saying after that was the fact that sometimes as fathers, when addressing our own children, we're not addressing them with the same love and nurture, yeah, as we would address someone else's child. So we're addressing them with more aggression and more frustration about their behavior, yeah, which is then causing. I said that it's anti-bullying week, and I wanted to look at fathers being bullies to their own children. Do you see what I mean? And using their own physical dominance over their younger child that doesn't have the same physical attributes, yeah, to bullying, to carry themselves like that in their household.
But how do you define bullying?
They can't express.
When you're on child, how do you define that as bullying? If you're asking your child to do something that they're not supposed to do, and you're literally forcing them to do that something, but if you're literally forcing your child to go and make their bed, go and brush their teeth, go and wash themselves, how is that bullying? That's something they're supposed to do. Something they're supposed to learn to take care of themselves. And if they don't do it,
I get where you're coming from, but a lot of men, yeah, are more forceful in that. It's not just go and brush your teeth.
That's the thing though. That's a thing that's been probably passed down from the last generation, from the generation before, because obviously, as we know, I'm sure we've all experienced some kind of harsh discipline as we was growing up, and I would go further than to say harsh and say unnecessary, and unnecessarily harsh. You know what I'm saying?
Everyone's got a story. And everyone must have a story.
And I think that I think basically, we go through that, but when you're going through that as a child, it's like it's hard to put it in perspective because you're a child.
It's a movie.
it's not until you become an adult, yeah, and start having your own experiences and your own children that you look back on those things. You understand what I'm saying? But unfortunately, some man just carry the cycle on and don't really reflect on where they're going wrong. Do you get what I'm saying? Because it weren't necessary for us. It's not necessary for our kids. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's 101 ways to skin a cat. And,
Yeah.
none of them involve
don't
getting
realize.
that
I
piece
just
of cane
want
and
to sort of
beating
touch on that because I think
them.
Oh, wow. That was one of the beatings I had in my head.
Yeah, standard.
Yeah, no, just similar.
All right, then. I could back in the with my dad, yeah, it was just like I didn't live with my dad until in my 20s. And I did a spell with him and I was like, never again. Yeah. And the fear factor that I had with my dad, because I didn't grow up with him, it was a thing where my mum would say, ring your dad. And I'd just quiver. Yo, no, I'll do whatever. Do you know what I mean? And then the fear factor was there because of the simple fact that I just assumed that my dad was that wicked and bad that for me to call him and for him to come around here to discipline me, I'd fucked up. You know what I mean? So with my son, like my dad had a thing where he just had to look at me and I just know I'm doing something wrong. I'm not acting right. Like,
don't carry on.
Just stop. You didn't have to beat me. Like, I can count how many times my dad did beat me in my life. Like, I remember them. You know what I mean? Because obviously, whatever I did at the time, it deserved me to get beaten in it. So you must remember them, innit? But the ones where I got beaten for simple little things, it was just part of the like cycle where it's like, yo, this is toughening me up. It's not like man, we're getting into fights every other week. So for doing badness as in learning my mannerisms and learning what my voice meant and how to carry myself, it was part of growing up. And a bit of it's instilled into me because little things now with my son, I can give my son that same look. And he will be like, listen, I need to stop talking or doing what I'm doing because my dad's giving me the look. Yeah. And that's what my dad passed on. And I thought, you know what? If I never had that sense of fearing that for my dad to take it to another level for me to understand, or that fear that, oh, I've never seen my dad angry, it was enough to scare me to say, you know what? Let me just cool myself down. And yeah. And I think a lot of the youth haven't got that.
Well, that's the problem. I think that's the problem. How we're raised on fear and not love. Yeah. True. So when you're raised by your father, yeah, without any love and on fear, there's a comment here that's saying something about it makes you a better. It says, but for them thing can make us have the manners we have now for our parents. And I disagree. No amount of beating gives you manners for your parents. None. Yeah. If you ain't got love, yeah. If you haven't been grown with love, that is the root cause of your problem with your parents or your connection to why you're not accepting the right guidance from your father. Because if he can only instill fear and discipline, and sometimes something that you said there, yeah, kind of bothered me because I know that this happens a lot. Yeah, women like to use the man, yeah, as the discipline, the person that's going to come and give. Yeah. So the man automatically, psychologically in this kid's head, yeah, doesn't connect the dad to love and guidance and nurture. Connects the dad to bad things. Oh, I've done this bad, and then nah, dad's gonna punish you. Do you see what I'm trying to say to you? It's kind of disconnected the man's relationship with the child, yeah, when you're dealing with women or baby mothers that are doing that sort of thing.
I know from the conversations I've had with my friends growing up and the people that I know, it is literally 50-50 who's dealing with discipline in the family. Some have the fathers who are more disciplinarian, some have the mothers who are more disciplinarian. From my experience, from people I know, it's literally 50-50. When the dad's around, it's 50-50.
Right.
It depends on the personality.
Right. But yeah, I would say that a lot of children, like you were saying, we was raised on fear from our father. I don't think that there's many that is going to be on here now telling me that they was raised with love. And I suppose those that are listening as well aren't gonna get that either.
I'll get you straight. You know, I wasn't raised by my father, but my mum. I was raised fearing.
I was raised on tough love. Tough
Fair
love.
enough.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
not
raised
love.
fearing something
It
wrong.
might be tough love, innit? That's it, man.
It was frustration and abuse that turned into psychological abuse when we transitioned from our childhood, into our adulthood with the same emotional childhood baggages.
Yeah.
Dwayne keeps calling it a movie, but that's because it is. We wasn't able to
write a book called Life. So until you start realizing that you bleed and you know what I mean. You
in La La Land.
That,
In La La Land. That's it. You
get up every day, you go to school, you don't realize it, and then it's not until bills hit you, certain things hit you, a death in the family, you realize, time's ticking. This is not a joke.
It's true. It's true.
Certain men are still walking around now like, it's playtime, and it's like, blood. We're in lockdown and panic mode, and you're still walking around like
nothing's changed for certain men. That's why.
Nothing's changed for you.
Yeah.
Still the same. But even moving on from that point where I was speaking about baby mothers and how they influence their child to view the father as being a disciplinarian and all of this sort of stuff, Let's talk about women's relationships with their child in relation to how they raise them to view the father figures that they have. Yeah.
Very much depends on how on the father's interaction within that relationship and with the children. If he's a bad man and he's beating children, he's out on alcohol and drugs, some women want to hide that fact and paint him as a he's still your father kind of thing. And some women will say, listen, this is how he is. This is what's happened. Someone lay down the truth. Some want to hide from the truth. Depends on the person. Depends on the relationship. Me personally, I wouldn't want to hide something from my children, because when they find out the truth, number one, it will be like a smack in the face to them, and number two, you lied to me all this time.
Yeah. It's true.
I'd rather just tell the truth.
That's a tricky one.
Age appropriate, of course, but I'll tell the truth.
It's true.
And if a man's messed up in that relationship, it's for him to fix it.
Yeah.
If you paint him up as a god figure, and he totally disappoints the children, you lied to him, and then what are they going to think? Who are they going to trust? That man's got to make sure he's got the right relationship. No matter what happens between him and the mother, he has to make sure he's got a tight relationship with the children.
Definitely.
And if he's a good father and he's a good influence, that mother has the right to make sure that father has a relationship with the children. Not because the relationship busts up, you ain't seeing the children, because you don't want me, you ain't seeing the children. No, man, it don't work like that.
Yeah. But you know that's happening.
Did it make that film though?
Happens.
We know that.
Did it make that film though?
Stop it.
That film didn't get made.
I saw a stat that said 74% of male suicide was because of being estranged from their child.
Yeah, I can believe that.
It's a believer.
High number. That's a high figure. So then there has to be something in it why women are. I'm not saying like Naya was saying. There is some truth. Like obviously, if the man isn't what he's supposed to be or whatever, I agree. But there is the opposite side as well, where there is women out there actively breaking relationships with their child and their father up.
Out of pure jealousy.
Yeah.
He don't love me, but he loves the children. That's just pure jealousy.
Yep.
That scenario is wrong. And if he's a really bad person on alcohol and drink and drugs and very abusive, the woman has got the right to protect the children. But if he's a decent man with the children, he's got the right to protect the children.
What would be their reasoning in doing that? You're right. So it's like the law and all of that isn't on the side of the man.
No, it's not. I think it's down to what we touched on earlier. I don't think enough parents, men and women, have got enough experience or enough heads up. Like, we're not taught, we're not told what to expect. So I think a lot of the women that are stopping the kids from seeing their fathers, it's not because they're always 100% evil. It's just because they just haven't got the mindset.
Yeah,
They haven't got the skills. They haven't got the minerals to be able to.
Their father, so they think it's normal.
Say that again, sorry.
I think with a lot of women, like, I know women like that, and I know their circumstances, and a lot of them, in fact, every single one of the women that I know that have done that to the man have not grown up with their own father. So as far as they're concerned, it's normal.
Yeah.
Why can't I stop him from seeing the child? It's normal for me.
That's an issue as well. If they've not got a father figure themselves, they don't value what a father
They don't
is.
know. They don't know how
You know what I mean?
what a father is supposed to be like.
Yeah, like,
The importance of it. Yeah.
my question, then, for those who've got children, when you first found out, what's the process that you go through when you first get told, I'm pregnant? What's the process that man goes through? Do you know what I mean?
If somebody says I'm pregnant, I want to know who the father is.
Man are laughing, but yo.
No, you know what? My first child was unexpected, but I was always looking forward to it. I know for a fact I had a child with the wrong person, but I was always looking forward to being a father.
What the fuck? Yeah, you can't say that. You can't say that.
Purely because I didn't grow up with my father around. And I saw my dad about 4 times a year. There was domestic abuse when I was a baby, and then it broke up. But so I saw him about 4 times a year. He gave me money, say hi, and then gone. So my thought process is I'll always give what I didn't get. Because when I'm at school now, everybody, mostly white people that's in school, they're all going, yeah, weekend, what are you doing with your dad? I'm going football. Yeah, I'm going fishing with my dad. Yeah, we're going out with my dad. Where are you going with your dad? I'm like, we're going to cinema. I had to lie that I was going somewhere with my father. I had to lie. I said to myself, I ain't never going to do that to my children. Never. Never put my children to that scenario. And that's from a young age, from 13, 14, so it's never going to happen. No matter what happened to me and my mum, I'm always there for my children. Turns out I end up having the children, but that's life. I just get on with it.
Fill the gap.
Having to grow up and lie that you're spending time with your father, nah, man. Not on.
What I'm saying, what was the first initial reaction when you get told I'm pregnant? What's the emotion? What's the process man went through? What did you do after that?
I was happy.
After she told you I'm pregnant, what did you do then?
I was for my first child. I was happy. I kind of celebrated to myself. Yeah, it was unexpected, and I was young and I was ill prepared, but I loved it. I was always looking forward to having a child. So,
then, who's the first person you told?
My mom.
How long did it take?
I told her straight away.
Yo, listen, it took me 9 months to tell my mom.
How old was you?
I was 25 at the time.
Wow.
Why did it take so long?
Why? Yeah.
Because I was scared. Literally scared. I didn't realize. I realized that I was bringing life into the world, and it weren't just me that I was gonna have to look after again. I was on a thing where it was just me, and then obviously when I met my girl, we've been with each other for a long time, and it was like, when you're with someone and you plan, you're like, yo, you know what? If I was to have a kid and make all of that, so then when it actually came to me and it was like, yo, I'm pregnant, it's like, I was happy as hell, but it was like almost like, yo, I need to keep the secret to myself. And then it weren't until an episode of EastEnders came on, I was at my mum's. Like, I had my girl wrapped up in my flat, wearing baggy jumpers around the man them and everything. And I went to my mum's, like, it must have been the week she was going to drop. And I said to my mum, and I was watching EastEnders, and it was the same situation that I was in. Somebody was having a baby on there, and I said, yo, mum, you're gonna be a nonna. She says, yeah, I already know. I said, what? You've been coming around here for months with a look on your face like you wanted to tell me something. And why did you tell me? And I said, yo, I didn't know how to tell you. Like, I've been so excited myself and trying to. And she's like, yeah, you got everything sorted. And I was like, it was mad. But then when I asked other man were like, yeah, like, it's kind of an iffy one. Like, and I'm like, yo, so what's the process? Like, because it's not like the TV show. It's not like that for every man. It's not that same type of feeling, and some man don't get it, understand, like being told that. It's like, yeah, it can be a buzz, but at the same time, it's like, it's just not your buzz. Like, so how do you share that? How do you deal with that at whatever age that news comes to you? And what's the process? Because no one ever explained that to me. When I was growing up, bare man were having news, and I was like, raw. It's like having an handbag or a Gucci bag.
Yeah, it's
I was
normal.
like, I don't even know Gucci bags until I'm about 30. I'm good. So when I had mine, it was like, yo, I'm getting mine. I'm ready for this. Like, but it was a shock, but it was I knew I was ready. Because I in my head I was like, yo, I'm doing the steps that I never had with my dad. I'm gonna give my son these steps.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pattern this for him. I'm gonna try and do my best for him. And that was my starter pack in the whole of when, you know what I mean? And everything else that I've learned, it's almost like just life experiences. And I put them down on him, and I speak to him about the same things. And I'm like, you know what? I just imagine every time, I wonder if I wasn't here, would he be the same now? If he was to go through certain experiences that he's been through in his life, would he be the same now if I wasn't here, or I didn't have that influence to say, you know what? Don't worry about it, son. This is how we move forward. This is how we move.
From your experiences, do you think it'd be the same?
I don't think he would.
You know he wouldn't, bro.
It won't be the same. Not with the environment we're in now. I think he'll be influenced by a lot of things that would be out of my hands to be uncontrolled for him to, you know what I mean, take in. But with me being about, it's like there's certain music that he listens to, and I've sat him down from 10 and I had to explain to him, like, with the wrestling thing. See what these men are rapping about? Might not be doing it 24/7 in they're influencing you, innit? So try and listen to the beat. Try and listen to this. Try and break it down in your head and realize, yo, like the fun parts that you're memorizing, do you know your times table? Do you know this? Do you know this when you go to school? Because it's all right singing this melody in your head, but when man giving you a change at the shop and he's shorting you, you best be able to open your mouth and say, oh, listen, I go to school, I can count. You might have painted me with this brush, but no, I'm clued up. And I didn't have that as a youth. I was walking around learning off other man how to be cool, how to be in, how to fit in. And it weren't until I went to jail I realized, raw, I've been trying to fit in with the wrong people and the wrong tick. Like, I've not been riding my own wave. I've not been sticking in my own lane. I'm lost.
Yeah.
I didn't allow that to happen with my children. I didn't allow it because I literally gave up my career. I packed in working and I became a full-time parent. And it's difficult. It's really hard.
Yeah,
but I said, I'm going to make sure I'm going to be there for the children. They had to come home. They had to be home within half an hour of leaving school, or I'm out there looking for them. Had to be home. A lot of parents are working and doing other things, but I gave up my career to make sure my children got through that school system. And I made sure I did that. And I became a parent governor, made sure I was involved with the school, exactly everything that was going on. Even their friends used to tell me what was going on. I used to go and look out for their friends as well. And on behalf of their parents, I've gone to talk to the teachers on behalf of their parents. But I made sure my children are coming through that school system.
Yeah.
Wouldn't let them go anywhere. And they say, oh, Dad, you were so horrible. You wouldn't let me go anywhere. But the man them on the road now saying, listen, we didn't know your daughter when she was younger. Where was she?
Yeah.
You know, they said, listen, it's down to you to keeping your child inside there. We didn't get involved with them when they were younger. And one of them said to me, listen, I wish I had a dad like you. If I had a dad like you, I wouldn't be on the road.
Sure.
But my children don't appreciate that.
You've got to, because it's them little things there that push certain your own child and other children to look up and say, yo, you know what? My man's dad raped me like his son. Just because I carry myself a certain way. Back then, in our era, carry yourself, and you won't give a damn if it was your brethren's dad and Ray Tay. You had your knife in your pocket and you whatever, you're doing your thing. You're not bothered about. Now, like, my son can't walk with me. He hates it. Told him, said, Joe, I know everybody. So when we're walking, it's the thing where it's like, yes, I'm like, yeah. And they're like, is this your son? I'm like, yeah. So if you see him carrying on with any fuckery, pull him up.
Yeah.
Pull him up. I had the fear factor of my brethren's dads, but they were all old. So for them to be pulling me up on the roadside, you have to catch me first. They're pulling me up. You see it? So it's a mind frame thing now. Like, you used to realize, yo, listen, like the lessons that we learned as youth, they like they've got a starter pack when they get onto the street. Yeah, the knife, yeah, it kills, it bleeds. In fact, they got the starter pack. So they already think they're equipped to deal with whatever's on the road. So before they even get into their first situation or their first incident, they already realize, yo, I've listened to enough of this music. I've done enough of this weed. I've done enough of this. I've done enough of this cred. I'm ready to go and do the next thing that the guy that's grooming me is, yeah. Because that's how he's picture. Because he's realizing you're listening to all these influencers and they're the influencers to now come to get groomed. But they didn't realize that. And that's where the fathers come in, where it's supposed to be like, bro, like most of the man now, like if I hear that your son's on the road and I know you, even if I don't even, I'll be like, yo, I've seen you, you're still on some mad thing and I'm pulled up and I ain't box your claw.
Yeah.
Mum be like, oh, word for that. And I'll be like, nah, blood, like the way you was carrying on, like reckless, I know you, but like,
yeah,
your son seems like he's kind of lost his head. Oh yeah, me and the mum, man, we don't really talk. Really? You want to get on job then, mate?
True. So the baby mother scenario then. Yeah, and co-parent.
The mothers of our children scenario.
Well, yeah, that's what we're facing right now. Majority of them, like I said, 90% single parent households.
90%? Where you get that from?
That's from the gingerbread report.
Figures.
Did a research.
Alex and his figures.
90%. What was that?
That's from the gingerbread report. They did a research on.
And is it black parents, black homes?
That's just in general in the UK.
90%.
90%.
90%. It was like 10%, which you fall into, Naya. Was males that had access of their own. They was like the primary carers for the children.
Oh, I see. So of the single parent households, 90% are women. I get you. Okay. You meant 90% of the whole population got single parents. I get you. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So when we look at the baby, especially, let's deal with, for this subject, let's just home in on the black community. Because I think that, I'm not saying it's not a general problem, but I think there's some specific complexities within the black community when it comes to this baby mother thing, men having multiple households with children. Do you see what I mean? And the reasons behind it, I think we really need to dig out so that we kind of put out a message or kind of address what's at the root cause. So co-parenting is something that I'm not going to say a lot of people don't do, but I would say that majority of black fathers are not doing. Yeah. And I can say that from the perspective of running a child contact center and seeing the number of fathers that actually are prepared to fight for their rights to see their child. I don't see as many black males as I do every other culture. And when we're looking at the rate of young people dying in our community, as we went to earlier on, We know that the common narrative with all of those young people is that they are coming from households in which there's absent parents.
Yeah, the laws since when I was younger, the laws changed a lot. Because when I was younger, it's literally a done deal that the mother will get the children. When it comes to divorce, it was a done deal that the mother was going to get the children back in the day.
Yeah.
Now the laws actually when I was
It's
when I was
evening
in my
out a bit.
court case, when I was in my court case, I was in the first batch of fathers who got a level playing field.
Right.
Soon when I was fighting my case for custody, well, I had custody of the children, but then the mum decided she wanted them. But so when I was going to court, that was the first era of when they said, listen, whoever's best for the children, they're having a child. And I won my case because I was actually living with the children all that time. But and then I've helped other fathers deal with it. Some fathers didn't want to do it, and I kind of coerced them into actually fighting for their children because they think, well, what's the point? The mum's going to get the children anyway. So I don't think like that. If you want your child, you fight for them. You do something. If you ain't got money for it, you don't have to get a solicitor. Just state your case in court. But you have to do something because when your children are older, they'll say, well, where were you? What did you do to have me?
Exactly.
What did you do? And you got to account for that when they're older. So when the time comes, you do whatever you can to stay with your children.
What is our responsibility as men?
It's definitely if you separate from the mother, it's definitely to chase access to your child. But saying that, because I've gone through the family court myself, it doesn't always pan out the way you want it to pan out. I've gone to family court twice, two separate children of mine, and both times at the end verdict was no access. Come back in 6 months. Come back in 6 months.
Right.
And after going through it for 12 months, the last case, after going through it for 12 months, being told every hearing, like every other 3 months, you're going to see your child, contact center, to then be told at the end of 12 months, come back in 6 months, I was like, no, I can't take that.
Yeah.
I walked away from the family court situation. I didn't want to reinitiate another court case that was going to drag out for another 12 months before I see my daughter. I couldn't take it mentally. I could not do that. It was enough for that 12 months to just walk away from. I couldn't pursue it anymore.
What was the impact that you felt mentally?
What do you mean on?
Like, how did it affect your mental health? How did it affect your life when you was going through that process?
When I weren't seeing my daughters, my daughters, it was hard. Obviously, my mental health would have suffered at the time, but I tried to keep myself active. I was going swimming, going gym, riding bike, riding horses, doing all sorts of stuff to keep my mind healthy. And obviously, I'm Muslim as well, so I pray and stuff. So my faith kind of helps me as well as, leisure pursuits that I've done at the time to try and train my mind away from the bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the family courts is just like the criminal court. And the family court organizations like Kafkas, they're the exact same. They're racist. They don't understand certain behaviors or attitudes or language that we might use sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They might find it aggressive or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't understand certain people from certain communities. The family court is a racist institution, just like the criminal court, just like every other institution that we have in the UK. So you can chase your children, and obviously I would endorse that. I'd encourage that, but it's not always going to go your way. It's not always going to go your way, unfortunately. And it does go in the favor of the female. It does favor the female, the family court in the UK.
So,
in my experience.
Yeah, so you don't give up, on the fact that you're going to be, or that you have the child. So how did you overcome? Did you overcome that situation, or did that situation still ongoing?
That situation was left as it was. I got to the end of the family court, and I left it. I tried to contact the mom outside of the family court after that, she got a non-molestation order, and I didn't contact her again. I've not contacted her since. So it's kind of like, what do I do? I'm not going back to the family court. I don't want to contact the mum again in case she's going to get upset and try and get a non-molestation order, which she can quite easily attain. So it's for me, I just had to walk away from it and just pray for my daughter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again, it's my faith. My faith helps me a lot, because we look at certain stories from the Bible, and certain prophets were separated from their children for a long period of time. Same story in the Quran. A certain prophet was separated from his child for a long period of time. So for me, that's what I draw upon. I just think, you know what? It is what it is. All I can do is just be patient and just go with it. But I'm quite strong mentally. I know a lot of people would not be able to deal with that situation and will go mad. And I can understand why certain men just go off the rails when they face that situation. I fully understand that. You know what I mean?
Did you take it out on the mother? Did you get really
Did I?
upset with the mother? Yeah. Did you
No.
get really upset with the mother?
Yeah, at the time. Yeah, I was upset with the mum, but I've not got any criminal convictions against the mum, if that's what you're getting at. I didn't take it out on the mum in that sense. But yeah, I don't really blame the mums either. I just think the whole system is designed to break up families. This is the way that the system is designed. And it's all about money, because two separate households are paying two separate bills. You see it? They're paying two separate council taxes. They're paying two separate electrics, gas. They're not interested in strong families anymore. You know what I mean? They're not interested. Even though, what's her name? Margaret Thatcher, she said, families are the pillar of society. They know that. They know that the family unit is what holds up society.
Yep.
So they don't want it, because they want.
But she wasn't talking about our families. She's
Say that again, sorry.
The crime families that run the country.
Yeah, without a family unit, there can be no community. So without any community, there can't be any unity. So as long as the family unit is broken down, then we'll never have a stronger community, which means that we'll never be able to unite for anything. Do you see what I mean? Because we're all individually fighting the same struggles, but probably from different perspectives. But the mental health topic is something that I really wanted to home in on, because I believe that predominantly, especially in the Black community, we are suffering with mental health, I believe, from an earlier age. Yeah, so I believe that a lot of children, and their behavior is acting out in mental health from a young age. I'd say from as early as 6. I think that young people can suffer with depression. Yeah. I think they can suffer with anxiety and all of these things that we're not addressing. And it's more highly, I would say, predominant in our community, based upon the fact of that family unit being so broken and dysfunctional.
I would say that one of the biggest mental health illnesses that all of us suffer from, most of us suffer from, and it's one of the earliest ones we do suffer from, is an inferiority complex, and that affects all the other mental illness that come on board from that.
Why do you think that is?
From the day we were born, especially living in the diaspora, everything is white and bright is right. You know, when you're growing up in school, what you learn is about white scientists, white philosophers, white mathematicians, white superheroes. Everything's white and bright and all over TV. And now things are changing, because you've seen black people dotted around. But I'm from the era when if you saw a black person on a TV advert, mum's like, black people on TV, black people on TV, will just run down just to see an advert. Yeah. Can you imagine that? Just to see an advert, see a black person on TV. Now things are changing, seeing black people all over the place, which is upsetting all the far right gammon people. Oh, I'm not going to Sainsbury's now because I've got black people on the advert. Duh. But that's something we've grew up with. We've grown up with that.
Yeah.
All these
I think
adverts with blonde hair and all this kind of stuff. And, you know what I mean? It's changed a lot now. I'm so glad for it. But, you know, being so good at stuff from a young age, it affects you well into your adult age. Well into your adult age.
Yeah.
It's the stigma of mental health as well. Like that's it. Like people as black men, like we actually, you're scared to tell people, oh, I'm depressed or I'm feeling low, because sometimes you do have them conversations with people. You idiot. Why are you down for? Fix up, not understanding the deeper problems, what you're facing, and then you go and deal with it your own way. You start turning to drugs. You start turning to alcohol, thinking that you can deal with yourself. Like that's what I did. I was always getting into trouble, and the only people that I could talk to was my solicitor and my probation officer, where I tell everything, all my problems to, where I was getting it out, where the people I needed to, like friends and family, they weren't there, or they wouldn't listen the way I needed them to listen. So you just you get caught in a rut where you're just constantly battling with yourself, and that's the worst person to battle with, yourself and the person in here, your own head. Like it's bad.
You're spending your life fronting, putting on a mask, and just not being yourself.
Yeah, but that's but people with that, people are trying to be themselves, but they're not. They when they are being themselves, they're getting shut down. So
yeah, trying to be themselves.
People when you're being your actual self and you're getting shut down, people then they're putting on an act that they're showing themselves, and then they're got shut down. So they have to put on an act and have to put, like I say, the loudest person in the room is the weakest one in the room.
Yeah.
Like you have people there that you think that they're powerful people because they're in a room and they hold the room nicely and this and that, but they're not the weak. They need help, they need support, but they make you think that they're the strongest person in the room because of their attitude, because of their confidence and this and that. They might have gal, they might have this, they might have money and that, but they need help as well. But they just don't want to talk about it because the stigma. Like and that's what needs to happen. We need to be honest with ourselves and come clean. Face that. Be honest with yourself and come clean.
Honest with yourself. That's the word. I'll give you a classic example, because I promote black Saturday schools, right?
Yeah.
I promote black Saturday schools. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And I was teaching at a Saturday school in South London, and there was two boys in there. And obviously, when they go to a black Saturday school, they're learning their history and their culture, and they're learning how to be proud of themselves and understand their history and culture, and actually being proud of it. Because when they see what we've actually done and we're still doing, and they won't learn it anywhere else, they're actually learning to be proud of themselves. So I knew these two boys. So I'm on a bus. I get on the back at the back of the bus. I hear this big noise. A lot of people making a horrible noise. Me being me, I just turn around and say, "Listen, guys, you just hold it down a bit. Hold it down." And I see the two boys that I recognise with three other boys. And I said, I'm making a horrible noise. I said, "Listen, just calm down, calm down, calm down." And they goes, yeah, man. One of the other guys is like, "Yeah, I'm a bad man. I'm a bad man." I thought, okay, really? So I said to him, "What is it you want to do with your life?" Because I want to be a drug dealer, man. And these are like 15 and 16-year-olds, right? So I've been teaching these two boys since they're like 13 or 14. So I knew them well. So this other guy's like, "Yeah, man, I'm going to be a drug dealer, man. I'm going to be a man on the road. I'm going to be a man on the road." So So I turned to the boy. I said, "Listen, what is it you want to do?" The other boy didn't know. He goes, "Yeah, man, I'm going to be a DJ, man. I'm going to make enough music. I'll get enough girls, enough car." "Oh, really? Okay." So I turned to the two boys that I knew. I said to him, "What is it you want to do with your life?" Knowing full well they already told me what they want to do in the Saturday school. They knew they couldn't be on the same level as them boys because they knew I knew what they wanted. I said, "Look, be honest and tell your brethren what you want to do." So one of them's like, you know what? "Yeah, man, I want to be a scientist because I like science in school." They're like, "Rah! Oh, you like science? Oh, you pussy! Oh, do you know what? Yeah, I like science." You know what I mean? He did want to tell that to his brethren.
Yeah.
So I turned to the next boy that I knew. I said, "Listen, tell the boys them what you want to do, because you know what, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to work. I like watching it on TV." Like, "Rah! Oh, doctor, what are you?" I said, "Listen, now you three, you lot be honest with what you actually want to do." One of them's like, "You know what, I actually want to be an architect." The other one says, "I want to be like a computer science." And the thing is, not one of them knew that about each other. They spent all that time fronting and lying and chatting crap with each other. They never actually knew what they wanted to do. And they wouldn't even be honest with their own friends. They're so busy fronting on road.
So,
honestly,
what about the impacts of mental health on young Black children? So obviously the challenges that we have is obviously the challenges that they have. So in terms of, like you were saying, in terms of the inferior complex, that could be due to the images that they see of superheroes or of God, and all of these images that are not reflecting themselves. Racism, which we know is institutional and economic, that they face within school, never feeling good enough or worthy enough, never having to work twice as hard as their counterparts to even be acknowledged for the slightest bit of achievement. Not growing in a household in which it's stable, and probably coming from a household that is dysfunctional. A lot of us probably facing psychological, physical, sometimes sexual, which we don't like to talk about in our community, because it's another touchy subject to say that men can also be sexually abused, and that happens within the Black community and other communities too. So I just want to home in onto some of them sort of deeper topics, and how we as men, knowing these issues, our responsibility to that, and what our understanding is behind the mental health of younger people. So I'm going to give that to Chris this time.
Okay, yeah. So personally, I think that a lot of Black youths have been and continue to be, suffering from depression, and not only depression, like post-traumatic stress disorder as well. And I'd say 99% of the time that goes undiagnosed. But if you think of,
I think that also gets put into the SEN category.
do I think what, sorry?
You think that gets put into the special needs category as well for young people? When our Black young people are out of sort?
Definitely, because they've got a category what they call SEMD, social, emotional. I forget what everything, but like social, emotional, and yeah. So what I mean, they've got a category for that, but it's not looking at the wider context. I mean, if you think about the experience that probably most of us have been through as youngsters. Who's got the music? Who's running the music? The experiences that most of us have been through as youngsters, and it's like we're getting stress from a lot of different angles. So we've already talked to. Can someone turn down that background noise? Who's got the background noise? Yeah, nice. Yeah, so we've got a lot of different stress factors going on. Yeah, it's like, come on, man, who's got the background noise?
Who's got it on?
It's doing. I think it's on the phone.
Oh, is it the reverb? Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of different stress factors going on. So for example, we've already talked about parenting, and absent fathers, harsh parenting, harsh discipline. So we're already dealing with those issues. Then we're dealing with identity issues. We're in a country that's foreign to us. Whether people might want to say they're Black, British, or whatever, but let's be real. This is not our natural environment. We're trying to adapt to something that's not natural to us because we've found ourselves in this environment now through circumstances. You understand what I'm saying? Then also we feel those inferiority complexes because of the things that you've mentioned. You know, the way society portrays, you know, what's popular, what's you know, seen as beautiful, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Then also on top of that, we've got infighting within the black community. We've got, you know, postcode wars and, you know, different, you know, sections like that. Even within Christianity, you've got different factions of the church that are arguing amongst each other. I'm Seventh-day Adventist, I'm Baptist, I'm Jehovah's Witness. Do you understand what I'm saying? So
confusion.
there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of confusion, and there's a lot of different stimulus, negative stimulus going on for young people, especially, you know, young black males, I would say. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of that manifests itself in, you know, behavior, in like, you know, negative behavior, and kind of those cultural stereotypes in terms of that aggression and things like that that tend to come out, and it's a big problem. It's something that needs addressing.
Yeah. So how do you think we can go about, how do we as men go about raising a better awareness to the community about the issues? Because I've always said that for a man, he always fights, so he grows to fight 3 battles. Yeah. He's fighting the battle he has internally. He has the battle he has against the prejudicing society that they've set against him. And he has the battle within his family structure to overcome. So how do we best raise the awareness about the struggles that black men internally, externally, and in the family unit that can almost give women a better understanding of how best they can support us to be able to be either strong enough to hold down family commitments, yeah, or to overcome the obstacles that we have, that then we have a responsibility to guide our children to then be able to overcome and build that resilience. Without us getting, or without them getting to the same place as us, where we had to almost let life teach us to a certain place before we've then been able to look back and see where the problem is. How do we as men make that process easier for the next generation?
So I think the first thing for me is, like, as an individual, you've got to acknowledge and address your personal issues. Everybody's different. Everybody's at a slightly different path. Yeah, there's similarities between, we can all have similarities, but everyone's very individual and react to situations in a different way. So you have to acknowledge what is affecting your life, what is holding you back from being the best that you can be. You have to acknowledge that, and you have to address that on a personal level.
Right.
That's the first thing. And then once you've done that, you've got to be willing to articulate that to other black males or to other males, not just necessarily black males, but to other males as well. And you know, we've got to, you know, like, for example, even this book is like valuable because I've never had these kind of discussions before, you know, and I'm grown. I've just had a grandchild the other day. And these,
congratulations.
Yeah, my respect. But these kind of conversations are not, you know, I've never had these kind of conversations in my life. I never had, you know, even to this day, you know, no disrespect to my dad, but we don't have these conversations. They don't, you know, the conversations what I have with my children, I've never had with my dad. But obviously I understand that he's from a different era and that he had different experiences to me. So I don't disrespect him for that. Although I'm not going to lie, at times in my life, I have been angry with him and felt like he could have done more or done things different. But as I've become older, I can see the bigger picture. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I can see you know, perhaps, you know, some of the things that have held me back, he had a even harder time than what I had in those days, and his beginning, you know, and his journey to this country. And so what I'm saying. So I think communication, you know, amongst us as men is important, but then I think also communication with our children, not just with our sons, but with our daughters as well, because that's where it starts. Because if we can make them understand our journey, and the things what make us tick, then when they grow, they're going to already have that instilled within them and have an understanding in the wider context of what males are going through within the community.
100% agree. Definitely. So yeah, looking at our relationships with our spouses from a family perspective, and being able to address that. Does anyone have any guidance or anything that they want to share on that?
For me, I'll just jump in again. I think again, communication is very key to the situation, but it's not that simple. Having said that, it's not that simple, because even if you can communicate and articulate, things aren't always received in the way that you try and put them across. Things aren't, you know, there's a saying, you can only reason with someone to the level of their understanding. So you could be talking till you're blue in the face, and someone might not grasp, or they might not be ready to grasp it on that day, but in 6 months' time they might grasp it, but on that day they might not grasp it, or 5 years' time they might grasp it, you know.
Sure.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but in saying that, is that a person you should be in a relationship with? If the communication is that bad and they don't understand you, should you be in a relationship with them?
Well, again, everybody's different, but let's be honest, a lot of men are in and have been in relationships that aren't right for them for whatever reason.
Oh, it's always going to happen.
Some of them stay in them too. Stay in them just for the sake of the children.
Yeah. And you know, it's a common thing. And even relationships with no children, you know. Yeah. Sometimes, and you know, there was a thought in my head earlier when we was talking as well, where I was thinking about, you know, some men, they like, you know, the sexual side of things. Yeah. But say, for example, they might be with a girl and be careless, and the girl gets pregnant, but because they was only interested in the sex, then they're not really connected or interested in the product.
It's true, but it goes both ways.
Real.
You know,
it goes both ways.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. And a lot, and to add to that, yeah, a lot of men will lie down with women behind closed doors that they don't want to be seen without a rope. So then when those accidents happen, there's a level of, no, real talk, there's a level of embarrassment.
It's real.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. True. And then when the picnic comes, they're denying the child.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, these people stay in the relationships because the man them as well, they also haven't got nothing else but their parents' houses to go to, so that they live in Brazil and they haven't got. So you best not fall out with your business. You're going back home. Like, no. So you better be staying in that relationship 12, 30 years down the line. Yeah, everything's going great, isn't it? No, it's not. Get out when you can.
It's true. Once you get out, you can. Survival. Yeah, survival. Then let's talk about that survival mode that man can be held in relationships.
Yeah, I think. Do you know what? Yeah, I think, and I'll use myself as an example. Yeah, you know, I think men can make a lot of wrong turns, because because ultimately, you know,
nobody innocent in this room, mate. We're all
we've got
all on a roundabout.
ways, haven't we, of fixing feelings. Let's be honest. We've got when things are uncomfortable, we've got methods for fixing feelings, haven't we? Like, you know, some may find comfort in women, some may find comfort in drugs, alcohol. Do you understand what I'm saying?
True.
But ultimately, we find avenues to comfort ourselves when we're lacking that emotional warmth and nurture. And that's
coping mechanisms.
Yeah, so, you know, and then that leads to its own set of problems. Do you know what I'm saying? Those things.
Yeah, you know, a lot of guys don't like being alone. They like to have their cake and eat it. So they'll have somebody there, whether they like them or not, they like to have somebody there and go and pursue what they want, really. But have something there just in case it don't work out.
But really, but really, I mean, this is my opinion, yeah. I think what would benefit a lot of men and black men in particular is realizing that it's okay to be on your own sometimes and just spend some time getting to know yourself and just understanding who you are as a man.
Yeah.
Understand what I'm saying? And once you know, men understand that, I think that's a big step in maturity. And I think once you're able to do that, your next relationship should be, hopefully, I say your next relationship, you can still.
If it's not the best thing, you won't be entrapped in it. You won't think that you have to stay in this relationship to feel a year, 2 years down the line, it's going to get better. Because you can, a couple months down the line, if it's not working, you've got to go, innit? That's it, simple. You've got to toughen up, that's it.
Yeah, and that's a part of the maturity, knowing when to call it a day, knowing when to walk away. But also doing it in a way that's not doing it in a way that's not confrontational, because we don't need that confrontation in there. We just, you know, sometimes we get all emotional, you know, there's the argument going on. We don't need it. Sometimes you just need to say, all right, you're over there, I'm over here, peace, in a bit.
But also, you do get them people, the certain man would like to walk away, and then the girl, she won't let you go until that argument's being stated right in front of you. You do everything you can possible because you know what your head's like to get away, and this person will not let you leave because they're provoking you. They're provoking you because they want to. They want to go to the other side, because some people, they need that. They're not used to not having no people having emotionally attached to them. They're not used to it, so they need the violence and the aggressiveness, because they're not used to someone just walking away and without no argument or nothing like that. They're not used to that. Some people aren't used to it.
Yeah, they grew up with drama, and they think drama is the normal way of life.
Yeah, that's it. It's
really sad. That's a sign of mental illness.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree that for some, not all, but for some.
Yeah, no, it's not. This whole thing is not for some people. It's not for all people. It's just for different people, different perspectives.
But ultimately, you know, and again, this is just my opinion, but ultimately, as a grown man, part of your responsibility is gaining as much control as you possibly can over your reactions to situations, how you address situations. Do you understand what I'm saying? When we're young, we're a bit emotional, and we react how we react, and we know what it is. You know, sometimes we react emotionally immature, as was said earlier. But as we get older, I think part of the responsibility is, you know better, do better. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think
if part of
sorry, do you think that part of that emotional immaturity and maybe neediness of emotion is attached to the relationships that men have with their mothers
and fathers? It's not just the mothers. It's the relationship or lack of relationship with a father.
So would you say that has more of an impact on him in a relationship wise than it does when he's in a relationship with a spouse?
Yeah, sorry, say that question again.
Do you think that the relationship that a man has with a woman is impacted mainly by his relationship that he's had with his mom, in the sense of his emotional development and neediness, and the fact that the father's not there doesn't give him the logical balance of how he's supposed to be? Yeah. So then he's emotional. Yeah. And then that emotional behavior is immature because it didn't have the balance of the father with the rationale, yeah, and the guidance. Do you think that that impacts on males' relationships with their spouse if they aren't raised, or if their relationship with their mother is either too close or too separated, or too, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, definitely. But I think indirectly, because ultimately those things are going to have an impact on you as an individual, on your emotions as an individual, and what impacts your emotions and how you react to emotional situations is going to impact your relationship. Yeah, what I'm saying. And I think that you know, it's not only that. Yeah, it's kind of emotional stability. You know, I think some people underestimate the power of emotional stability, because when you're not emotionally stable and nurtured, I think it leaves you open to, and again, I'll use myself as an example in my younger days, to not caring about yourself enough to make informed and positive decisions about your life. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's like, without that self-love, it's easy to make, what I'm saying, so what I'm saying is, without that self-love, it's easy to make damaging decisions that are damaging to you and your emotions, and adding damage that's already there. Makes sense. So and clearly that can impact any relationship that you have, not just a relationship with a spouse or a partner. It can impact your relationship with your children. It can impact your relationship with your friends. You know what I mean?
So what do you think the main issues are for men in terms of relationships, and why so many children are, in the sense, so many children are left without that father figure in the household? What are the main issues really that men need to be addressing with women, in terms of what we really need from them, in terms to be able to be strong in that environment?
Again, this is just my personal opinion. Yeah. But I think the narrative of the society's narrative, right, is not necessarily helpful. Right. I think I have to tread carefully now. I have to tread carefully. But I think sometimes society's narrative, is not really promoting. Let me put it like this: it's not promoting again, this was said earlier, I believe, it's not promoting the family unit. It's promoting, you know, I'm not saying, let me say it like this. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with female empowerment. I'm all for female empowerment. Right. But sometimes it's portrayed in a way that, for me, for want of a better word, disempowers the man in the structure. That's how I look at it. You know, like, and yeah, and I'm not saying, you know, it's good for a woman to be strong, but, you know, at the end of the day, there's being strong and there's creating a brick wall around yourself, which is two different things. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of confusion nowadays as to what our role is supposed to be as a male and a female in the relationship. You know?
It's true, too.
Yeah.
It is though, isn't it?
It's
Not true.
Yeah. Do you know the reality is, yeah, you know, the reality is, and again, I'm not talking about all women because everyone's different, but a lot of women, they know really what they want, and or they have a notion of what they want, and they will try to get that by any means. So, for example, yeah, if you're in a relationship with a woman and the woman opens up that conversation about having children, and you as a man say you're not ready for that step, you know, a lot of women will take that situation into their own hands and make that happen. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then once that's happened, you know, they've got a clear picture in their mind where they're going with it. And if you're not on board, they'll just sideline you. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's one issue. I'm not saying all women are like that. That's not what I'm saying. But there's still a good cross-section of women who will do them things there.
That's true.
Yeah, and that creates its own issues, you know what I'm saying? Because if you're saying to a woman you're emotionally not ready to be a father, and then, you know, and some people make the argument that you can take matters into your own hand, but if you're in a trusting relationship and you believe that certain things are catered for them, you might not have a mind to do that. You understand what I'm saying?
True. Well, gentlemen, I think we've had a very good discussion. I don't know, we could probably go round and round. Is there any other topics that we haven't touched on that we feel is important to get out? Maybe today's our only day, International Men Day, so Mike, pass today.
Talk about anything.
Is there any other issues, do you feel? Or is there anything that we haven't really talked about that we feel that we want to? No. What about domestic? What about males and domestic abuse? Actually, now I believe
males as victims mean.
Say again.
Men as victims or perpetrators?
As victims.
Yeah, happened to me. You know what it is? a lot of us are abused by our women. We get hit, we get punched, we just laugh it off. So what are you doing? Because we know we're bigger than them, we're stronger than them, and we can just deal with them if we want to. So when a woman wants to lash out and punch and hit us, we laugh it off. But when it's the other way around, oh, you hit me, oh, you know what I mean? Because we just laugh it off. And I've witnessed myself when a brother was arguing with his partner in the street. And she's like, hit me then, go on and hit me, you think you're a man? And he's like, I'm not going to hit you, I am not going to hit you. So she starts slapping him and punching him. He goes, I'm not going to hit you. He's holding up, I'm not going to hit you. She knows full well that he's not a woman beater, but she wants to take liberties with that mindset and attack him. Now, if that was the other way around now, all hell breaks loose.
True. So
it happened to me in a relationship that I was in. She knew full well I'm not a woman beater. But when she wants to kick off, she wants to pull a knife and start slapping me and whatever. Anyhow, I defend myself and just push her away. Oh, you pushed me! You pushed me! What do you mean I pushed you? You cut me with a knife!
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do?
But the thing is, it's not so much like you people will have the perspective that it's domestic violence as in violent. Like a woman don't have to be violent. Like a man don't have to be violent to give you abuse. A woman can be mentally abused, man, to the point where they want to commit suicide. You don't have to be powerful or hit you. The women know how to press them buttons, so it don't have to be a physical aspect of manipulating. And people will look at it, oh yeah, man won't get. Oh, how can a man get abuse like that? No, you can. There is physical abuse and mental abuse. The mental abuse is more more than physical. It hurts people more than physical abuse at most times, because it leads people to commit suicide and do things they don't really want to do.
Yeah, and
It's
I
not
would
nice.
also say, I'd also argue that often the physical abuse that men commit in domestic abusive relationships, I would say that they've already been subject to emotional abuse for many of years from that woman prior to lashing out.
Not necessarily.
Not
When
all
you got
the time.
when you got
I
alcohol
would
and drugs
I
involved,
would say that I would like to argue that men suffer with emotional abuse at a higher rate, I would say, yeah, in relationships than I would say it's tricky, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Yeah. I believe that men suffer with emotional abuse in relationships, yeah, more than sometimes the physical abuse that takes place within relationships on the opposite side.
so from a woman, a man is more likely to suffer mental abuse than physical abuse. Is what you're saying? From a woman to a man, it's more mental than physical. That's what you're
Correct.
saying.
100%.
I can see. I can. Like I said, I can understand where you're coming from.
It's
Based
very
on
rare. It's very rare that women do actually physically abuse men, and it goes to that state where a man is like, I can't take no more of you
Yeah.
beating me up no more. Like it can only get to a certain extent, but then there's other people who will react, and will react quickly. But then there's other people who it will take a lot for that man to snap. And people, and like you say, people aren't stupid, we're adults. So people know the art of manipulation, and they will find a man what they can get that out of,
Mm.
and how to manipulate that situation. They know who they're picking, because they know what man not to take and to do, who they're going to get away with them things to do. Yeah. They know who they can get away with them things and who they can't. They know. No.
I think it probably happens. Yeah, I think domestic violence from a woman to a man probably happens more than we realize. If I'm honest,
It does.
It probably happens more than we realize, and I think the thing is, I'm not taking anything away from, I know there's a lot of domestic violence from men towards women. I'm not trying to take anything away from that. But I think women towards men, I think it does happen. It happens more than we realize. But I think, because of like the stigma attached to it, and like men not wanting to seem, like the weak or just, certain things, then, probably a lot of the time it goes unreported or not spoken about. Do you know what I mean? And the man just kind of either suffers in silence or until something drastic happens. Do you know what I mean?
Like depression, and though in it's the thing as a man is coming up, being honest in it. If that's what's going on with you, then you need to come out and be honest in it. If your missus is beating you up, tell your brethren your missus is beating you up in it. Like,
what's their reaction gonna be? What's their reaction gonna be?
But realistically, though,
if it's a true brethren, this is what you're saying, innit? Like we say about with the depression, it's that you're telling your mates that you're depressed, and they're gonna laugh at you. It's the same if you're gonna tell your brethren your missus is beating you up, and you need help.
Yeah,
they're gonna laugh at you, or your real brethren are gonna help you and say, "Come, let's phone the police and get arrested or something." You get me? There's people that you can talk to about this situation. You need real people, and like you say, you need real people to talk to.
Yeah.
But not everybody's got that, and even if you have got that, you might not use it because you might feel shame or do you understand what I'm saying? So
that's it. It's down to us, innit, to be honest and open with the situation. You've got to. How can no one's psychic, are they? So if you've got a problem, you need to let it be known to someone at least. Yeah. Like these girls, they've got where they can press pizza or say some secret code name, even though they're not even talking to the people, and so these people know what they're talking about. A man ain't got that. All he's gonna do is phone 999 and say, "My missus is beating me up. Can someone come and help me, please?" Not no code word or nothing, no secretive thing where they can say it casually and someone come and help you. They've got to scream down the phone, "I need help. My missus is beating me up."
It's true, because there's that thing now where women can do their background checks on men. I think is it Claire's Law or something like this, where they can do a background check on men before getting into a relationship, which lets them know if that male has been in a domestic abusive relationship or whatever prior to getting in a relationship with them. But at the same time, there is nothing for a man that kind of is there that states whether that woman has been either a victim or perpetrator of domestic abuse also. And what impact is it for a man getting into a relationship with a woman that has been previously a domestic abused victim?
Well, yeah, I mean, when you get into when you find out, but if you really want to be with that person, and you find out you know you want to help them, because I've been there. I was with somebody who was abused as a child and whatever, and you know I knew that, and I felt as though I was in a position, being the person who can respect women and treat women in a decent way, I was in a position to help and help her through it.
Yeah.
But like I said, some people just love drama. They think it's normal. Even when you're trying to help them, they think drama is normal. When you don't want to argue, you don't want to shout. Like you said, if you want to move or walk away from an argument and they won't let you, stand in front of the door. Some people just love drama, and that's what you need to get out and let them just spend some time by themselves or something. Once you realize you need to get, sometimes, I mean, a lot of times you find out in the early stages. Within about a month or so, you find out what they're like. Because not everybody can front for that long. But when you find out, you've got to make a decision where you want to stay or just get out.
It's true.
Yeah,
I learned from that. I get out straight away.
100%. Yeah. On either side of this.
Yeah, I think that like a lot of it is, you know, experience and just paying attention to certain signs, like you say, and not just paying attention, but acting. If there's something, you know, makes you uncomfortable to a point where it stands out like that, then, you know, you have to address it. Either address it with the person and make a decision based on how they react, or you make a decision that, yeah, that's not a situation for me. You know what I'm saying? But I think, you know, it's you live and learn in it, because sometimes when you haven't experienced that before, a situation can just sort of unfold on you without you realizing, and then before you know it, you're in up to your knees. Do you know what I mean?
And I think that if you're, as a man, if you know that you're a highly strung person, you know you've got a short temper, and then you're with a next woman who's got a short temper and highly strung, you know where it's gonna go.
Yeah, not gonna work.
You got to say a point and say, you know what, I like you or that, but me and you in a relationship just ain't gonna work. You got to be honest with yourself. Get to that level. Say, listen, I know where it's gonna go. Let's just be friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you can't have a relationship with everybody. Some people you just got to leave to. Some people are best as friends, and that's when you got to be honest with yourself. Because no matter how fit she is, you're gonna know you're gonna get bare drama, and I don't like drama in my life. I don't.
True.
No drama, no drama, no drama.
Well, gentlemen, it's late.
I know.
Thank you for joining the discussion. I'm sure those viewers have got a lot to take from it, and I'm sure even for ourselves, there's a lot that we've learned from even being able to share with each other. And it's something that we need to be able to do more, because the reality is we need each other. Yeah, as men, yeah, we actually need each other, and we need to stop a lot of the foolishness that we do in terms of either trying to compare or compete ourselves against one another. And we need to be more supportive of each other, because the challenges that we are facing, especially as Black males in today's society, is very different to our counterparts here, and our issues are far more complex. So we need to have more forums like this, yeah, that's going to encourage more males to participate, because what I found even to today, there's a lot of people that, especially for social media, they like to type, and they're quick to call people keyboard warriors, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But then you ask them to come forward on the screen, and they're not there. They're lacking. Do you see what I mean? So, to every male that's took part today, yeah, I just want to say salute, yeah, because this is where we need to start. And this should be something that, not just for Men's International Day, but let's try actively, yeah, to create a forum that we put out our issues and topics to the community, because we need to build the platform back for men within society. And with men taking that, role, as in they don't want to actively speak up, they don't want to actively stand up for anything. What happens is that the females, they can organize and unify. But as men, we're struggling to organize and unify ourselves. Yeah, and then we're going to complain when they're taking the lead, and say that we don't have any role in our family, we don't have any role in our society, and we have to be better for ourselves. Yeah.
And when the sisters do step up and take the lead, we must be man enough to follow.
Yeah.
Follow.
If we're not going to be accountable and going to stand up as being the men that we're supposed to be for them, then we're going to have to take the feminine role. It's that simple. Yeah. And what I saw, no, it's real, because what I saw today from inviting people that are actively talking like they are alpha, yeah, is that they don't want to come on screen and discuss alpha issues, because these are alpha issues. Do you see what I'm trying to say to you? Yeah. But what we've been taught is that masculinity, yeah, is the opposite. Yeah, as to why even what we were speaking about earlier on with young people being attracted to the negatives of our culture that is from the street, because that mindset is coming from this badmanism and this aggression and this basically illiterate behavior and emotional illiteracy and unintelligence, that they're unable to express themselves, yeah, communicate and act as men and guide, yeah, and be strong mentally. You see what I mean? We're all about this gym life and all of that, yeah. And 9 times out of 10, the weakest minds.
Right then.
I'm trying to say to you. And this,
No. Yeah, just carry on.
Yeah, this is a demonstration, yeah, of men coming together, showing, yeah, that we can be that pillar that the community needs back. Do you understand? And yeah, from this point onwards, I'm hoping that we've inspired many. And the next discussion, we haven't even got enough spaces on the screen to have men. But this time, it's been a pleasure. And
yo, peace and love, my people. Peace and love, everyone.
Yeah,
peace and love.
All right.
All right. Bless everybody.
Bless.
So.